Hi, this is Daniel Rowe. In this video, I'm going to show you how to update the values of your tick and row bars charts using this table and our time frame tuner. So first of all, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and do a copy of this table because you can't edit it from within this webpage. I can because I'm the owner and editor of the Google Sheet. But what you'll want to do is make a copy of it if you're logged into your Google account. And if you are logged into your Google account, then you'll see here that you are. So if you do have a Google email, that's what I would do. I would just do a copy of this via file, make a copy, and then you can name it and decide which folder you want to store it in. And then you can come back and update only this red row here, this target ticks. Every other, well, the majority of these other cells have some pretty elaborate calculations to arrive at, the chart values for the row bars and the tick charts. So the four that you need to worry about are tick 1, tick 2, row 1, row 2, well, as a master suite owner. And if you have the volume analyst with the row bars. If you just own the divergence analyst or the toolbar, then this tick BB chart is one that you'll also need to update, which would replace basically the row 1 chart, BB standing for Blackbird. So that's the fastest chart in those workspaces. And as a master suite owner, all of you would have access to all the divergence analyst workspaces, toolbar workspaces, and all of the volume analyst workspaces, as well as the master suite workspaces. If you wanted them, you have access to them in your workspaces folder. Okay, I almost forgot something. Let me just interject this in here. I mentioned doing a copy, but if you don't have a Google account, then you should download it. And I think you could download LibreOffice or OpenOffice or something like that if you don't have Excel. If you don't have Excel and you don't want to buy it, then just create a Google email, a Gmail email account, and make a copy of it. Or if you do have Excel or some Office software, then you can download as Microsoft Excel or OpenOffice. I'm not entirely sure what Open Document, maybe that's not Open Office. I don't know what that is. But you'll see that there are these equations in here, functions. So you do need to have it in the XLS format, and then I think you could convert it possibly if you have a really old version of Excel. But you cannot download it. I mean, you can, it just won't update the right values in CSV. CSV is, just values, and that's it. One other thing about this sheet and the available instruments, so there are 25 total. You can see there are 3 tabs at the bottom. The first one is named Common Futures, 6E, CL, ES, all the way to IM, and you may have to drag this to the right to see it. And then Stocks and Forex. So all of these are included as workspaces, custom workspaces in the Master Suite Essentials installer, the Divergence Analyst Essentials installer, and the Volume Analyst Essentials installer. Okay, this one is Bitcoin, FDAX, basically all of the markets that have a different target minute period. Okay, so just be sure that you check that, which is one of the settings, or sorry, one of the steps up here. Check that as you're using the time frame tuner and make sure that it's, the right setting. Okay, all the way to ZN. So that's 25 total. Those are the most common instruments that most of us use. Okay, back to the explanation. So let's just go through these steps real fast. So number 1, we're going to open the time frame tuner from the NinjaTrader 8 Control Center. New, trade the plan at the bottom, time frame tuner, and I'm going to go ahead and check this always on top. So let's do crude oil. what does it tell us here? Obviously set to crude oil, and that's usually in your futures list. But if you had to make a list, let's just do that super fast. It's tools, instrument lists, and then you can add a new one. You could copy from this futures one if you wanted to. Let's do that. I'll copy it, my futures, and then I can add to it. So say I wanted to add a 10-year if it's not already there. Those are probably on a different exchange or something. Let's do some of these currencies. Okay, well, that's good enough. So you see how to do it. You don't have to click apply. You can just click OK, and then you'll have it. Actually, I would have to reopen it. And now we have my futures. So crude oil, and what is the trading hours session template that I need to set? Always the RTH session, because I'm using obviously the high volume session that has the most traders involved in it to give me a general idea as to how many tick chart bars, or let's say what would be the average number of ticks per bar, that would leave me with a similar number of bars for the heavily traded session compared to, in this case, a 5-minute chart. So I'm going to set this to NYMEX Energy RTH, as that is the RTH session for crude oil. Target minute period is 5. Session look back is 7. But as you can read here, if you are downloading tick data, say for the first time or the first time after deleting your data cache, and it's after 8:30 a.m. Central and before, I think it's 4:30. Actually, I think it's 5 p.m. Central. Between 8:30 a.m. and 5 p.m. Central Time, Kinetic and IQ feed, which Kinetic is basically a white labeled IQ feed, they don't allow you to download the full history that they give you access to, which I think is like 90 days of tick data. They only allow you 7 consecutive days, meaning including the weekend. So if it's Monday, then, all the way back to the previous Monday, which would be 5 days. So you may have to set this to 5 sessions. But I have the data, so I'll set it to 7 and click calculate. And that spits out my average ticks per bar target, 1507. Okay, so it's quite a bit lower than it was before the last time I changed it. So I'll set it to 1500. Doesn't have to be exact. I typically set it if I'm going down a little bit larger, if I'm going up a little bit smaller. But since we're so close to 1500, I'll just set it to 1500. And then one more thing, which I forgot in these instructions, which I'll add here in a moment, is you want to go to the RTH4, in this case for crude oil, and you want to use this value in the middle for the average range RTH4. And if they are really, drastically different from one another, I'll kind of average a little bit and use a little bit towards the lower end of the value rather than the higher end. So in this case, it's 75, which is pretty huge. It's really huge, actually. So 75 would be the number of ticks. That will update that first range value for the row bars. You see how that changes? So I'll change it back to 20. See? Changes it from 5 to 2, 9 to 3. So let's change that back. There you go. All right, so these have all updated now, and now I need to go and update the charts. Okay, so I'm just going to copy these and paste them into Notepad, and then we will update the charts. All right, the tick 2 is going down to 1875 T for ticks, and the tick 1 to 750 T. And then for the row bars, I need to actually open up the charts here. So this is row 2, which is this one, 90, 71.64. And then the bottom one doesn't change. That's the constant number of seconds, minimum and maximum number of seconds. Just to explain this, so if you don't already know, setting it to 5 means that each bar would be at least a minimum of 5 ticks range from high to low. High minus low must be greater than 5 ticks. And the 0 on the end just means that there is no maximum. So there is no maximum range that would close that bar and then force the open of the next bar. For the ticks, remember the last number is always the maximum multiplier. So in this case, the minimum number of ticks per bar would be 375. The maximum would be 4 times 375. So if 4 times 375 ticks have transpired within a given bar, that bar closes and forces the next bar to open. Okay, once all 3 minimums have been met, once we have 75 seconds that have passed, 375 ticks, and the bar is at least 5 ticks range, the next bar will open. Or whichever maximum is hit first forces the next bar to open. And you can read the write-up on the row bars to understand those a little bit better if you want to. All right, so that's it. And then I just save it and move on to the next market if I'm trading another market, or just come back and do this next week. All right. Thank you very much.